Okay, so we are live on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you everybody for coming in on the live and on the replay. If these shows resonate with you, please share. We would appreciate it so we can stay above these algorithms on Facebook and YouTube. We've got a special show today. I don't usually work on Sundays, but we decided to run 3 shows today. This first one is with Lauren Ellis Galey. Before I go into any type of intro, I'm going to hook us up to our intro and let people come in and let people share out a little bit. How's it going, everybody? We got Lauren Galey in the house with us today. She's been in these circles for a long time. We had a great week this week with a lot of really powerful women, a lot of stuff going on. We just happened to reconnect with her around Friday and said, let's put the little cherry on the top of the Sunday here and on Sunday and have her come in on Sunday. It's going to be well worth it. This should be a great show. Let me give you a little background on her. Lauren Ellis Galey is on a mission to empower New Earth leaders. She is the New Earth Mentor's mentor, assisting those who are ready to step into their planetary roles, their divine role, and get their product or service out to the world. We live in a digital age, and Lauren has been successfully operating her online businesses for nearly 20 years. As a former radio and television journalist and anchor, Lauren was trained in mainstream media and now uses the many tools of media production and support of New Earth Media. She's the founder of newearth1.com, acoustichealth.com, plantmusicremedy.com. She hosts the popular global podcast Quantum Conversations and QC TV. So without further ado, let me just pull up the comments. And just as a reminder, we are live on 5 platforms, but I can only see any comments. So I'm not ignoring anybody. I can only see comments that are on Todd Medina Facebook page where we originate this to stay above the algorithms at Facebook. So without further ado, let's get Lauren up here and get to know this sister in front of everybody. Oh, there you go. ¿Qué pasa, señorita?
Oh, ¿qué tal? I'm good. Muy bien. Muy bien.
Right on. Beautiful backdrop you have there. You're out of Sedona, right?
No, this is one of my most favorite scenes in Boulder, Colorado, at the foothills of Chautauqua Park, looking east. And this was a sunset, and I just love it too.
Yeah,
so
it's beautiful.
Thank you, Zoom, for the green screen.
Is that what that is? I thought it was at your house. I'm just kidding.
And that's why I kind of come in and out, and out like Tai Chi.
It gives it a nice touch. So it's a long time coming. Obviously, people that have been in this community have seen you out there for quite some time, interviewing a lot of people and doing some other things as well. So it's nice to be able to sit down with you. Thank you for coming in, sharing space with us, and honoring us with your presence. This is just a conversation. You're welcome to ask questions. It's not a Q&A. It's not an interview. It's Sology style. So we just have a conversation, get to know each other. Now, we did talk on the phone a few weeks ago.
Yeah, that was precious too. I
Yeah,
mean, it was just, I think there's a lot going on where people are just collaborating in new ways. So it's
yeah,
exciting.
yeah. This
Mhm.
is definitely a lot of people have forecast this year as the year of collaboration and co-creation.
Mhm.
And, my own spin on that is getting rid of the 3D vestiges of the old paradigms and templates, and creating these new ones that haven't been created. So this is what you've been doing. This is what a lot of people that you collaborate with are doing. And there does seem to be like some type of integration coming together, and it's getting exciting. How have you been doing in 2020? I mean, 2020 has been an absolute mind blower. Every month has been like a year or maybe even a decade, and May has been extraordinary, particularly in the last 10 days or so. Have you gone through any substantial elevations, activations, stimulations, anything, your skills and abilities, your memories, anything ramping up in the last few weeks?
Thank you for that question. Um, yes, let's see. For me, it really, well, let's start at the beginning of January. Beginning of January, the new energies coming in. It was, and the January before in 2019, I noticed like everything around. So let's start in January of 2019, and then I'll come back to just the last few days because, yes,
Mm,
it really has accelerated. And it really is important to keep our focus and stay on our trajectory of what we want to create. Because as we know, and you just had Sandra Walter on your show Friday, as she speaks of everything is amplified. And
yeah,
so that's what we're seeing. But in 2019, it was as if everything around me in the physical, it began with my dog. She needed emergency surgery. And then the appliances started to break down, right? Isn't that interesting? It was like on this physical level, we were upgrading. It was everything. It was like two refrigerators, a dishwasher, just this long list of things. And that was what 2019 really seemed to be doing. And so then come around 11/11 of 2019 last year is where I saw deep clarity in like a whoosh of information coming in, deep clarity on action steps to take. And then in January, in my tight knit family, there was an issue that came up of betrayal, and that needed to be a new foundation of love. And so that set the stage for this incredible shifting that then continued now on a global scale. And what we're seeing is everything being shifted to a new foundation of love, everything. So that's exciting. I know sometimes it can get a little depressing, but we're becoming more telepathic as well because we're picking up on the collective. So that's really interesting. So game on for the New Earth leaders. So New Earth One Network was something that in my meditation and my work was envisioned in October of 2015.
mm,
And so as this year took off, yeah, there were some things to get this going and to get it like fully launched. But then I kind of held back. But then the pieces came flying together, and it was accelerated like at the end of April. So I don't know about these last 10 days. I'd be interested to see what you have to say.
yeah,
Um, it is it's time to get wildly creative for New Earth. And so that's what I love. And so, yeah, so that's my experience. It's just like sometimes the amount of work that gets done is also almost superhuman.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, and yeah. So energetically speaking, I can totally follow that timeline that you just went through, including 2015 downloads and including the 11/11 in 2019. That
Mhm.
seemed to be, a pretty significant thing. And then, of course, the first of the solstice and the first, and then I think around the 11th, 12th, 13th, there was, different versions of how that was explained. Sandra explained one the other day, but something happened. And and you said a minute ago that something, I'm trying to bring it back, but you were saying, well, it's time to step up. It's time to step up. As the years gone by, more and more women who have been in the background, in obscurity, but doing the grid work, doing the energetic work, and doing the individual work, anchoring in the purer frequencies to the earth, the sacred wisdom to the earth. They've been stepping up more and more and more. And I noticed over the last few weeks, several of them that we connected with said, I don't really want to do this, but I'm being told it's time to step up. And I honestly feel that frequency that we might call the mother goddess, the divine feminine, which is in all of us, okay, that isn't just unique to one particular physical gender or not. I believe this is what we've been lacking. We all know it's been a patriarchal realm. We all know it's been suppressed, but I think this is coming up hard and fast. And the more of these mostly women that step up and start to share their story and their code, this thing is going to move in a way I don't think any of us have any idea of what it's going to look like. So that's kind of my take on it.
I actually saw a scene of the earth with everyone living in a wildly authentic way. And I was driving down the road and I started laughing because it was really, really funny. Oh my God. And then I started crying. And then the songs that came on the radio were just like so beautiful. And the song, there was a Led Zeppelin song that came on that said, "So, do you think you can tell heaven from hell?" And at the same time, there was a cloud that turned into a heart right in front of me.
Yeah, isn't that it though? Isn't that it though? I mean, it's like,
That's it.
I think at some point we know, whatever level we work on, that integrating polarities is one way to say it. And maybe take the emotion out of it, the love, hate, the good, bad. But integrating polarities is the answer. It's the key. It's the way you find your way through this matrix or this labyrinth, right? And
Wow.
and the thing is we are being asked, and this is interesting because of the way things are playing out right now. You've got this narrative of this white hat overturning all the deep state and the cabal. And I'm not saying any of that's not true. What I am saying is there's something above that we all have an ability to connect to, where we can stand in pure compassion, and to use Sandra's word, granting clemency, but really aligning all polarities, no matter what the hell it looks like, removing ourselves from the bias and the prejudices and the righteousness to hold this higher ground that we all have access to. And the women have led the way, have blazed a trail when nobody knew what they were doing. And now it's all coming together. And I think the second half of this year is going to probably seem on a linear, in a linear respect, probably going to seem like 10 years longer than the first half, in a good way. So
That's really interesting that you talk about integrating polarity. There's a really good book. Let's talk about books, because one of the books that popped up in my field recently, the first time I read it, it was like, whoa, it was kind of wild. The Prism of Lyra. The
Oh my
Prism
God.
of Lyra.
You didn't just say that, did you?
Have you read that?
No, but I got up this morning after a very, busy week. And yesterday was my day off, and I chilled all day pretty much.
Good.
But I woke up when we went to bed last night, we did our normal thing, put our hands together. We got a bunch of stuff came in, right? I mean, she was channeling straight, and it was just a lot of stuff. So I woke up this morning, I sit on the couch, I'm having some coffee, and this whole galactic lineage thing starts to come in, and it begins with Lyra.
Yes.
It begins with the Lyrian, I guess the first initiative to plant these universal seeds that are the human being, so that's crazy that you brought that up, but it's not
from source. Yes. And so I love this. See, this is so organic, and I love conversations that go this way. All right. So I was just reading this book. First it was, Bashar will, Lissa Royale is the author of these books, and Bashar has mentioned her. And the Prism of Lyra I think it was written like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was like almost 20 years ago when this was written. and it's the source moving away from itself and consciousness fragmenting into
Mm.
us, and the founders being, and so it ties in all these stories that we hear, and it gives us this galactic history,
Yeah.
and it's all about polarity. And so this morning I was reading this in my space, and it was like, wow. And it was written 20 years ago, but there was a paragraph that jumped out, and it was like, how are we going to ever go meet our brothers and sisters if we do not have a handout? Now I'm going to cry because I know it's real, but if we
Mm.
don't have a handout to other people on our planet, and
Yeah.
so unity. And so as it goes through all of our planets in our star system, it talks about, Lyra, and then Vega, and then Sirius, and
Mm-hmm.
how Sirius is a triad, a trinary star system. That's some scientists actually have reported that, and that Earth is the third star in that triad system. And in this, it's very hard for me to articulate, so bear with me. But
No, it's
the
fine.
triangle of polarity,
Yeah.
and the opposites, the negative and the positive, and how beings left those planetary systems in reaction to living out polarity lifetimes. But in the integration, the third point in the triangle is the integration, and Earth is the Syrian, one of the Syrian stargates, among with other seedings, where we are now integrating. And so look at what's happening in our world. It seems so polarized,
Mm-hmm.
even in our own community. And that kind of makes my heart heavy, because, and this is why we hold our vision of new Earth. We will not be divided and separated,
Mm-hmm.
right, in our community. And so there is no place for politics. It just is. It doesn't fit in the equation.
Mm-hmm.
So the eye on the prize is new Earth, and that's where we really stay focused. And the conspiracy theories are wonderful because it shows people in so many different storylines that we are the ones that have to step up and do this in a new,
Yes.
special way, right? So,
Yes. So it's a challenge. Now it's less of a challenge as time goes by because we have a higher perspective. But it's a challenge not to take sides, and it's also a challenge to have the open-mindedness when you think you're opened up all you can be, to be able to say, I might have a very subtle, unconscious bias or prejudice that I'm still not aware of. So,
mm-hmm.
to your
Yes,
point, I mean,
on a
it's like
on a daily, moment by moment level. I mean, looking,
exactly,
yes, mm-hmm.
exactly,
So
exactly.
chaotic.
Well, and that's really the thing. I always try to drill everything down to something very simple that involves the human aspect fully. Like, what can I do in my human aspect
Mm-hmm.
to align and bring to a higher perfection all of the timelines and dimensions that I'm connected to, which is everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do that? Because all this stuff gets complicated. You got galactic wars, you got Q, you got COVID, you got this, you got that, you got visitations, you got downloads, you got channelings, you got psyops, you got all this stuff. And how can I bring that down to a certain level? And to me, it's the integration of these polarities that people like Morgan and so many women have talked about, the shadow work, the inner work. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not all flashy and fantastic like the dimensional experiences we have. It's just work. It's not even work like strenuously. We may not want to face them because there's fears involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's admissions we have to make, but this is part of our detachment from the illusionary aspects of us and our alignment with our natural nature. And it's just so interesting to me because it's like we've come full circle, and all of these fantastic episodes have happened, yet we end up what might even be considered in a mundane task of aligning the human and all its incarnations and all its traumas, and therefore healing the realm and the universe. you know
Wow.
hmm
Yeah. That was beautifully well said. And so gosh, let's practice this. Let's do this. Let's do this, because when we integrate, I see the infinity symbol. And you
Yeah.
know what? We can do this to unify the left and the right brain. It totally brings us right in. And I know everyone listening to this, if they're watching your show, they know this.
Mm.
But let's do it for, oh my gosh, let's do it wherever people are in the world. Let's do it for all opposing politics.
Mm. Yeah.
Let's do it within individual parties, weaving the two and just like running the energy, because we can see that it's like becoming neutral. But then
Yeah.
let's even expand it out to like, gosh. So it's just healing the polarity. And I'm seeing like fracking fields and
Mhm.
clean, perfect air,
Yeah.
things like that.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'm just, wow. So, one thing that I like to do is when we work with people to really inspire them to step up, you're right. Many people don't know what to do. They don't want to do it. They're hearing the call. It's really interesting. Look at you and I. We've been talking about this lately. Guess what? We are now max headroom. Do you remember max headroom?
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm dating myself. When I was a journalism school student in college, we had to study Max Headroom. And at the time, I'm like, who the heck is this? What? That was like in 1985 or something,
Hmm.
right?
Or earlier.
Yeah. Well, by the time it was in the college book, it was like, okay.
Mm.
And then it was like, but now we are all Max Headroom.
Yeah.
So what we're finding is everyone is stepping into this digital world. We're all like on Zoom now. Zoom is a household name. It will be in the Webster Dictionary, I predict. So we are now all max headroom, and that is terrifying for some people, right? We will get over it, but I just found it interesting that that was 30 some years ago,
Yeah.
max headroom, and here we are. Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, and
but
it's
we get wildly creative for New Earth, and so let's make lists. I've
yeah,
got some I'm going to share,
cool.
and it's not like what Sandra was saying. We just did something with Sandra yesterday. It was beautiful, working with the Stargates, that we're not here fixing the old. We're bridging to New Earth with solutions. And
Yeah.
we're already seeing that people like, if you dare to peek at your local news, in the local news, you'll start to see people aren't settling for the same systems. And we're
Mm.
starting to get like that collective pressure that we've been talking about, that pretty soon people will not tolerate, and they will require certain humane aspects, right? So it's
Yes.
human diplomacy, human and all life diplomacy is what we're in. So, wildly creative ideas for New Earth. Like when you think of New Earth, Todd, what do you see? Because I see it. And we've always been like, oh my gosh, hold your vision for New Earth, please hold
Right.
it. What is your vision for New Earth? Like what do you see?
I think it's important. I mean, Morgan brought this up to me like 2, 3 weeks ago. She goes, on these shows, we ought to start asking people what is their vision of New Earth, like their personal vision, so we can actually start building it. Just going
Yes.
back to something you were saying earlier about what I'll just call the imagination, which we know it's not that light of a word. It's actually a very powerful part of our energetic makeup. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway, so when I look at my own situation and the way things flow and the way that I navigate things, which mostly is a nonverbal thing, and I'm a talker and I probably can't really explain it. But what I'm getting at, it's a very present moment type of energy. In other words, the potential of your personal energy is most maximized the more present you are, which is a little bit of a trick, because you have all these multidimensional higher aspect connections that are increasing, communicating, and enhancing, which are really code that's coming open in the divine human. So now we have the ability to have that with us on a conscious level as we're present, but still present is present. Wash on, wash off, chop wood, carry water, whatever the case is. And I think for me, I don't know what it looks like. And what I mean by that is I feel that if this energy field that my piece of real estate in the universe, you know, if in this field of energy, I can continue to align and create a higher perfection in my field, whatever that will look like in the physical and beyond, is something I don't even know. In other words, let me give you an example. I don't necessarily have so much of my focus on what it's going to look like versus what I can do to greatest contribute to that, because I'm of the thought that as we come into a higher perfection and further alignment and align our free will with universal will, that certain things we might think have to be done from a physical standpoint won't have to be. And what I'm talking about is like cleaning up the ocean or cleaning up the earth, or negating the consequences of fracking for oil and gas. That our frequencies itself, along with matching Mother Earth, would naturally change things in what we might consider an alchemic, magical, or almost a non-physical way, a miraculous way. So for me, that's New Earth. New Earth is where are you at today? What are you doing right now to contribute to the collective, which is the same thing as to thine own self be true, making yourself a bigger, more expansive, in a proper sense, Todd. Something like that.
I love that. That's wonderful. That is wonderful. And the more that we do that, the more that we envision it, we are given the action steps to take. We are given the solutions. I love it because it truly is a bridge. It's a bridge. And with anything that we want to manifest, we know it's in the ethers, the etheric form first. The ideas behind it bring it into manifestation. And so we can be really wild and crazy and think, all right, when you were a kid, when I was a kid, we were supposed to have jetpacks by now.
Mm.
Remember
Yep.
Shazam? We were supposed to have
Mm-hmm.
jetpacks by now. We don't have jetpacks. So I envision a world where, you know what, it's back to its pristine nature. When
Yep.
I fly over the ocean, into the Pacific Ocean, seeing some of those blue turquoise waters,
Yeah.
that's the new earth waters that I see. And so I know it will come back. Um, so we are on a bridge, and as we hold our vision of new earth, we are given the action steps to take. There is so much what you said there. It's amazing. Um, as we make that bridge, some of the things that we can start with, I remember, gosh, this had to be like 15 years ago, more than 15 years ago. Actually, maybe it's like 20 now. That's amazing. I went to the dreaming room with Michael Gerber. He wrote the book, The E Myth.
Mm-hmm.
Work on your business, not in it. And it told us how to get really smart in that way. And so he was helping entrepreneurs get really smart. Then he takes us into this dreaming room, and I like raised my hand and I get in the hot seat, and he has me share my dream. And my dream was a bed for every human, a bed for every to me, because we were in San Diego and I saw a lot of homeless, and it was like, that just is not right. And I know this resonates with so many, like poverty. How about if we eliminate poverty?
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, 15 years ago, he kind of ripped into me and said, go
Mm.
back to Boulder, go back to Shambhala, or, something like that, where I was just dreaming too big. And he made me think about that, made me think, like, is that too big of a dream? Is it? But not anymore. It is
No.
not too big of a dream.
No.
And so, isn't that beautiful? So that's one thing. What about if there's, what about free energy? Like,
Yeah.
I know we will live on a planet, I see it. We will live on a planet where there is not oil and gas.
Mm-mm.
So, as we make this bridge, my gosh, everyone, let's do something really cool here too. When we're writing, I'm getting the chills because this
Mm.
is really exciting. And this is what we work with New Earth mentors. Everyone watching this is a New Earth leader. So step into your New Earth mentorship. Come on, let's go. It's game on. So, wildly creative New Earth ideas. If all we do in today's conversation is encourage people to stand up in a voice in their local communities, because we're going to see the local letters to the editor, you know what? We're going to see television stations honoring someone who steps up and does a meditation. I challenge anyone listening to step up and go to your local TV station and present a press release about your service.
Mm.
Do a press release about your meditation, about your, please do it. This is a beautiful opportunity right now. And we're going to start to see this. So pay attention also to the wild and crazy ideas that you get and jot them down in your journal. So some of the wildly creative new earth ideas that I have as we are bridging new earth, what if, because there's systems and tools right now in our current system that will totally eliminate debt
Mm-hmm.
faster using a banking tool. All right. And so this, you know what? This is where we take our own responsibility in our life and maybe get some education. But what if banks, what if we pressure banks to give, all right, there's things, HELOCs, and banks can, when they give a mortgage, they can extend, not, they used in the days in the past, they used to use HELOCs. This is the old that probably makes some of us nauseous even thinking about it, right? But we can use this tool to really pay off the debt that still exists. And that gives us freedom from debt. Can you imagine if you don't have a mortgage? So, mortgage, right now, there's a tool. If anybody has questions on this, I'm using it in my life. I'm happy to share it. But you can use a HELOC and you can put your money into it and then actually use that in a way that pays off debt. And then it goes to pay off your mortgage rather quickly. Now, what if that system were something, a tool that mortgage companies gave to their mortgagees so that they can use this to pay off their mortgage in 5 to 10 years, not 30, and heck, not 50. All right, so that's one thing. What about all the commercial buildings? I don't know about what's going on in your neck of the woods, but in my local town, energy use on the commercial level, of course, obviously is way down. The home use you would think would go up a little bit. How much do you think the home energy use would go up if everyone's working
How
from
much you
home?
think it's gone up since this happened?
Yeah, how much do you
I
think
don't.
home would have gone up if
I,
everyone's working from home?
yeah, I would think it. I would think it would have gone up some. I mean,
Like
like I
what?
don't know. Like I don't know. Like electricity wise, maybe 15%, maybe 20.
15. Yeah, my husband said 20%.
Yeah,
1.4%.
1.4.
1.4%. So this shows us that, wow, we can totally save energy there. So these are just ideas. So you guys at home watching this, you create your wild and crazy ideas too, wildly creative ideas. So then the commercial buildings, Dr. Richard London was even, he might be a good person for you to interview.
Mm,
He was saying that he's seeing 80% of the workforce in the corporate world will be work from home,
yeah,
WFH. That is already in the Webster Dictionary.
yeah.
So, what about these commercial buildings? What if they were homeless living centers
Mm-hmm.
and education? And it's just we, you know, I think all of us know our galactic heritage is having a handout and helping our whole society get ahead.
True.
Right? So that's a good idea. Now, for the old system, the old structures, what if, as we're on the bridge, again, this is a bridge, we're bridging to New Earth. What if all oil and gas workers, what if all oil and gas workers were given free education or their school of their choice where they wanted to go and get educated to learn a trade that makes them love what they do? Again,
Mm-hmm.
it's doing what they love, right? This is what we teach in the Passion Matrix. All right. And so let's see. What if we write letters to our local government and our state officials, local city councils, letters to the editor that work from home? How about if employers with employees who live 20 miles away work from home 3 times a week and they get tax incentives? Hopefully someday taxes will be gone, but I don't know. These are just ideas, guys. And then,
Well,
you
that's
know,
right.
everything that's up for grabs. We can see it. We can see parents needing to homeschool.
Yeah,
Maybe parents will be homeschooling, and maybe there's creative ways to do that too.
yeah. And I think
So,
that's one of the keys, I believe. And this is what one of the things you brought up about conspiracy and disclosure at the top of the show is just the fact that people start questioning things. You know, using the power of the imagination, using that natural childlike wonder, that curiosity. Like, why does it have to be this way? Like, you know, I mean, I'm listening to you, and it's you know, it's igniting things in me. Like
yay!
I have certain, well, I think
Share
that's
your
what
list with
happens.
us. Come on,
Yeah,
share your
well, but
list.
my list would be a little more radical.
Let's go. Let's
but
come on. Let's hear it
but
because it's time
so
to be
I mean,
radical.
yeah, I mean, my thing is that, and going back to what I said earlier, but I guess what I wanted to complete that thought is that when we have these conversations, it does involve the curiosity, the imagination, And people start
Mhm.
thinking. You start saying something, I start thinking. I start saying something, you start thinking. People start thinking. And that's not even the nonverbal part of it. That's being mixed up in this vortex that we're involved in this moment, which will include anyone that watches this later, because
Yeah.
there's no time. But as far as like the way I see it, the way I feel it is, I think a lot of the stuff that we think we're going to have to do, the motions that we're going to have to go through, aren't actually going to happen. Let me give you an example.
That would be
Quite a,
really cool. I
well, I
mean,
mean,
that would be really cool.
but it would only
But
make
I
sense.
have to share though, I
Mm,
was one of those light workers that came home from Peru. I went to Peru on 11/11/11.
mm,
We did ceremony to Pachamama. Magic happened in my life after that. I've never been so deeply connected to Pachamama Gaia. And then after 12/21/12, 12/12/12, I was one who came home. To be honest, I was gullible. I was expecting an ecstasy fest. I was
mm-hmm,
expecting people to look at each other like they were on ecstasy and just see the beautiful. I mean, can't you see that in another person? I thought that was going to happen. And I thought we would wake up and just like love hugs to everyone. And I came home and cried for about 2 weeks. My husband's like, "Are you ever going to be happy again?" And then I learned that it's one heart at a time. So for you to say that it could be that, I just was hurt by that I know it happens at one heart at a time and it
mm-hmm.
happens from within. So I would love to see that happen. So go ahead. I don't mean to
No,
interject.
no, that's perfect. This is what we're doing. And I think that, that's one of the things that we've all experienced. One of the things that, we look at, oh, well, this person could channel this and this person can do that. Well, what is the common denominator? The common denominator is we all went through our pain and our suffering and our traumas, and we all went through what you went through, which was, be it Y2K, 2012, whatever, this date, that date, this date, there's going to be a big solar flash and everything's going to be okay. And we're all
This
going to
is
be walking.
it. We're
Yeah,
in it. This is the
that's right.
shift.
That's right. So that's the point. The point is that we all have this in common. And what you said earlier, it's the soul is the bridge. We have the Akashic. Let's just say the Akashic is what we had coming into this thing. Then we have the experience of the experience, which is gold, which is the living
Yes.
Akashic. Now we combine the two, and this is how creation seeded. This is how the universe expands. And I think what I'm getting at is that these programs or expectations that were created by our conditioning, which included that someone's going to come save us, like it's going to turn 2012 on 12/21 and everything's going to go okay. No, this is about self-reliance. This is about not just being knowing that we're creators, but being conscious creators that are looking for a higher perfection, and that first and foremost take full and personal responsibility for every single thing that goes on outside of us, because it's all me anyway, instead of waiting for a government to save you, or the white hats in the government, or spaceships, or Jesus, or whoever. We are all these things, and we can command absolute conscious control and creation of everything from the origin of our thoughts. And that's why I said to your question, I don't, mine would be more radical, because first of
Great.
all, there are no banks, there are no mortgages, there is no
Yes.
possession, there's no such thing as a copyright, a trademark. That's that any and here's part of our responsibility, in my opinion, is we have to extract ourselves in the physicality to fully embody the reality of our natural nature, which means I will not participate in mortgages, I will not participate in debt, I will not participate. Is that easy? No. Has it been done before? Probably not. Why are we here? To create the new template for the
All
new
right.
earth, and so I
Okay.
don't know how it goes.
And well, we're going to be here supporting that and going for it. It comes into we, the people, are the economy, right?
Mm,
Yeah. So that's a deep conversation. Really, really cool there, because I would like that too. It really is, well, brings us back to the Prism of Lyra, the book.
mhm,
And, that is our unity is the answer to overcome. And so we're actually literally moving into unity. There was a gal that I interviewed, and she channels Zeta Reticuli
mhm,
and said that December 21st, 2020, we will fully be, unity consciousness will fully be anchored on the earth. And she said that last December. And I was like, wow, what's that going to take? Look what it's taking.
Yeah. Well, look what happened.
So,
Look
all right,
look
I
what
have to share. I did get a little depressed in this whole thing. You know, we all get depressed if we sit in our own little spaces and our mind can go forward. We could go, oh.
absolutely.
And then I look out and I see, you know, I don't want to live in a world of face masks. I actually went out the other day to a little nursery, a garden to get some beautiful flowers, right? And I before I went in, I'm a collective empath. I felt it. I started crying in my car. I was like, I don't want to live in this world. And then I'm like, whoa, stop. Because my higher self shows me, and this is a key, our higher self, this connection. My higher self showed me that this is a collective timeline and we did make it.
Yeah.
Did you get that too?
You know, yeah, I believe so. I think that it's in two things. There's been several people that have come on the shows that in the last few months, and I'll just paraphrase it. Uh, they they appeal or question their multi aspects or higher aspects and say, "Hey, what's this going to look like?" And the answer they're getting is, "We could tell you, but you wouldn't even understand it. Even at your level, you won't get it because it's so far out from what you can conceive." So that's one thing.
See, isn't that
And
great?
yeah, and that's why I'm like, okay, just be open, be clear, be open. What else can we do? And if you drill it down to the human level, we're going back to integrating polarities. What does that mean? That means that as you go throughout your day and something upsets you, something makes you uncomfortable, makes you off balance, pisses you off, whatever, that's not anything external. It's if at a minimum, it
Mm.
might be something external, such as something that's just for you to come in and say, "Oh, that's not mine." But is it really not yours? Are you just saying that to spiritually bypass?
It is me. I mean,
Because
that
this,
that is a fear. That
yeah,
is right. Yeah. And so
yeah,
these feelings, I mean, we could say it's the collective, and maybe it is. Maybe it is. I mean, that's where the telepathy comes in. We're picking up on other people's thoughts, but you're totally right. It's something as well within.
yeah.
So what do
If
you do if that happens to you? How do you raise your vibration from that?
I have a luxury because I'm married to a shadow eater, and so she's been downloading for
Shadow
20
eater.
years. Yeah,
Okay.
she no, I'm serious. And
Nom,
there's other
nom.
but I mean, she's been downloading this stuff for 20 years. So, you know, and again, I'm very simple. Well, she has a couple of simple things I use. One of them is these lists that she does the session work with. She does, you know, make a list. Start with Father God and Mother Universe. Who's that? Your mother and your father, whether you knew them or you didn't.
Yeah. Oh,
Why?
yes,
Because what
ma'am.
does that bring up? What does that bring up? It brings up abandonment. It brings up lack. It brings up
Mm.
this. It brings up that. So there's this process that is very much hands-on, that is experiential. That it's not me telling you this, or you read my book, or you heard my speech, or you took my course. This is A, B, C, D. You want to do the work? Here it is. Take responsibility no matter what it is that comes at you. And the other thing is too that she taught me that I use a lot. And that's when something comes at me, I'm not in alignment. It just happened to me last night. And I went, I will no longer have a relationship with the energy of X, not within myself or anyone else. And that for a lot of things that will clear it, but for the really deep things, it's the first method. That's how I do it.
And isn't it beautiful now that we're home? Some people are home by themselves, and so they're not going through this. They've got different things coming up. There could be feelings of loneliness or self love, right? So that's what they are experiencing. Others, if I don't want to use the word stuck. Oh my gosh. I actually think people are loving this space with their family in a new way. But it's interesting to see where, you know, the energies of people that you're in, where you can kind of like draw back from, and where we get to see where we are like projecting something or affecting one another, and how we're actually creating the reality because we're choosing to come from that energy. So like what you said with how you move that energy, you will not let that in. We're seeing that in on the most mundane levels,
Mm-hmm.
the most
Yeah.
mundane levels. So it's all pretty cool though,
Yeah.
anyhow.
And I agree with you. I think that we I'm talking all the souls on the earth, regardless of what whatever, we've done a hell of a job, not just in this incarnation, but in our whole journey. We've done a lot better than we might have thought. To your friend's point about December of 2020, that was the second thing I was going to say. There's been people that have the intel that moves into forecasting. And
Yes. So
since then,
Victoria Lillenquist.
yeah, yes,
Let's
there's
talk
one.
about Victoria. I love Victoria. You've interviewed Victoria. She has been on her path for decades, filming the orbs. And this probably is higher aspects of herself, her family coming in. She shared stories that are just amazing, So she actually is, let's talk about that, because I was going to ask you, with all the people that you've been talking about, like, what's the juiciest thing that you see? And so I think I saw Victoria mention she's seeing something, and I always hesitate from putting dates on anything because I don't want to set myself up for like another 2012 thing. So, but she's saying that there's something exactly like what you're talking about. What is that? The first wave?
I don't know. I know that, some of these people that have this type of intel, what I've been hearing is, again, not in the dates, because another thing that people that pull in that type of data have come to the surface with has been, there's been an acceleration. Like the expectation was that we would get to point X by such and such date, and it's like we got there, like in a third of the time. So to me, these forecasts are somewhat like a fortune or a horoscope session. It may be very accurate in that specific space and time, but the minute you move forward on the linear timeline, everything starts to change. Can you hold that trajectory? It's more of a trajectory. Let's put it that way. But back to what your question was, what I've heard and what resonates, and I could name quite a few people, is that June was going to be a really, really prominent collective, everybody notices it type of thing. And I'm not talking solar flash, but kind of like coronavirus, where everything is affected. Everybody gets that jolt, and that it's going to really alter what's going on, which to me is mind blowing, because May's been like that. And then the second thing I've been told that I picked up, not me being told, but that I picked up from people that are, in regard to what you're talking about, is that by the end of the year, it'll be unrecognizable. And I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it.
Ooh, I just got chills on that. I'd love to, let's talk offline. I'd love to talk to some of those people. I really would.
No, these are, and I'd be glad to. I mean, we've got, quite a few people that come on. They'll come on. Like Franco comes on a couple of times a month. He's awesome. He's been doing.
He's in line for our.
Yeah,
he's in line.
Very good.
Yes.
Kimberly, his partner, very good.
Okay.
But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people, and there's a lot of people. For me, sitting in this chair, doing 60, 70 shows a month, it's almost like a book. Like I can see as time goes by the sequential puzzle pieces fitting. And so it's almost like I'm having a conversation with the universal from the universe, and it's like reading a book. So some of this comes in non-verbally, and I kind of connect the dots. But I believe that what we have in store throughout the rest of the year is potentially something nobody on the face of the earth, I don't care who you are, Amma, Dalai Lama, Muji, have no idea what it could be like. But I believe that a lot of it's going to be predicated on how well we can maintain our neutrality through these very polarizing programs, because that's what they are. To me, anything,
yes.
You know what I mean?
It is the call for all new Earth leaders to step up right now without being asked, to use the tools that we have, the beautiful new Earth media tools that we have. I cannot imagine. When I was in the journalism field, we were not allowed to touch a television camera because we were not in the union. And now anybody with a cell phone, look at my cell phone. It's an iPhone 5. It's even archaic. We can start a channel and So this is where integrity comes in, and New Earth is all about integrity. So wow, I know it is time for to step up and to share. And this is why it's like we know something, now share it. Lisa, Transcendence Brown, you and I slept in the same bed at her house, and you know that's like funny
At the
because
same
there's
time?
no, no.
I'm kidding.
Don't tell your wife
I
that.
just
No.
want.
Maybe
I just
she
wanted
and I
to.
slept in the same bed. No, maybe she
Probably.
and I did. I don't know.
I was
We
in the
slept under the
end.
same roof. We slept under the
Yeah.
same roof, not at the
I,
same time.
if you were in the middle one, then that's the one she slept in. I slept in the far end because
Yeah,
I
no.
was sick. I was sick, so I wasn't even sleeping with her when I was there.
I slept in the one that's out on the veranda,
Hmm.
and every night the dreams were just so wild. I still
Oh yeah.
remember them very vividly. But anyway, Lisa Transcendence would just say, "You know something, now share it." And I remember, you know, a couple years ago, it was like it'd be January. I think it was January of 2017, maybe even 2016. You know, 2.5 hours on the phone with Lisa. And then I get off and I tossed and turned all night long. I'm like, what? She has an amazing ability at just doing that. So, everyone, we know something, now share it. And
Yeah.
this is really the call for all new Earth leaders,
Yeah.
all new Earth leaders. It's everyone.
Absolutely. And so to kill two birds with one stone.
Oh, no, let's change those words.
Yeah.
To
Right. To
float
align.
two boats, to
Yeah.
float two
Float
boats.
two boats on the same wave. I don't want to get out of here without you. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You want to do a prayer, channeling, meditation. You want to sing, you want to dance, whatever you want to do, or you want to talk about what initiatives you're working on, which I have. That's why I said two boats in the same wave, and just kind of tie that together, because I think your platform is basically a foundational point for people to expand their intel, their skills, their abilities, and their code and frequency.
Yes, and actually share their work too. So, yeah, New Earth One, I invite people to go to New Earth One. That is something in a bridge. Again, Todd, you and I have talked about that. We're going to talk offline about you getting
Mm-hmm.
somehow posting your show there on that network, Neo TV, New Earth One. Actually, this was a higher expression of listening to my higher self and actually taking the steps, but my ego just watching in hindsight, which is 2020, watching my ego just come in and totally sabotage it over and
Yeah.
over. And that's what all of us have. And so it's just beautiful. The acceleration that we're in right now is almost as if the higher self is being listened to on a more level,
Yeah.
on a deeper level. So like where um, let's see, we listen to our higher self for information, um, or well, now we just have, I'm kind of losing my thought there. We
It's that
just,
3D stuff.
it's the 3D stuff where how do you ground the information of the higher realms? Then that's what New Earth One was. When I saw what it was, when I saw how big it was, because I was in a space in meditation with no limitations of
Mm-hmm.
how that would happen or whatever. And I saw it and it unfolded. And I was scared as heck in the beginning, going, what in the world? So that was like my ego mind coming in. So New Earth One is a platform now that's community supported, and it is a platform that is way beyond me. It is not mine, it is ours.
Mm-hmm.
And it is for New Earth Living. It's a home for New Earth Living where it's there's no conspiracy theory because we've graduated on that. Again, we'll just recap that conspiracy theory is good to make people realize we don't know what to trust. So we got to trust our inner. We got to trust our, and this is what's happening even in June when, you know, you're saying that something in June, maybe this is really where we all decide that we have to trust our instinct more than ever.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's so check out New Earth One Network, and if there are New Earth leaders out there who are ready to step up and you would like to, one of the things that I teach as well is Media Production 101. It's something that I know like the back of my hand, and it couldn't be more important for New Earth leaders to use this very valuable tool. Look at where we are as we're all max headroom. We're all on Zoom now. We're all getting our message out there. But now we just want to button it up a little and maybe edit some things and learn some tips like that That's a beautiful thing. Use the New Earth media really positively. And then if people don't know about how they tap into their passion and their joy, that's really what we work on as well, especially as a New Earth's mentor's mentor. So we just really support all creations
Wow.
of New Earth.
And how do people find you? Is it on neo.com,
No, it's
newearth1.com?
New Earth One, and one is spelled out. We are
Okay.
one, ONE, New Earth One. Free membership for that.
Hmm.
And right now there's a really cool 10-course Neo retreat, which it's all streaming now. There's 10 courses available for you to go watch. Sandra, Patricia, Diane, Coda Robles, Lisa, Transcendence is there. Really cool New Earth creations. When you listen to that, you will be so inspired and focused on New Earth. We don't have time to get distracted anymore.
Mm-mm.
We really have to go forward. So we invite people to listen to that and to go to newearth1.com. Thank you. So
Right on.
let's talk about the Pluto Jupiter before we get out of here.
Yeah.
The 4-4, I have to be careful who I say this to, but I think everybody listening to this kind of will get it.
We're all
You'll
friends.
certainly
We're all
get it.
weirdos. Every one of us. We're all the same boat.
We make woohoo normal. And
That's
guess
right.
what? I used to think, okay, here's another ego. When I was creating New Earth One, I really was moving out of my space, and my higher self was really talking to me there. And it comes from the heart centered space. But New Earth One was what I was shown. And then NEO, Neo
Yeah.
TV, Neo retreats. And then it was like, oh my God, Neo, that's the Matrix.
Right on.
So that was kind of cool. But one thing recently, the 4-4 2020, the 444 gateway, April was really wild in the
Yeah.
4 foundation. And as we know, the 4s are new foundations of love. And this year is all about new foundations of love. So the Pluto Jupiter conjunction, isn't it amazing that it didn't happen for 200 years? And now we've got it happening 3 times this year. And the 4-4-2020 was the first time, June 30th, and 11/12.
11/12.
Yes, the day
11/12.
after the 11/11.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's right ahead of the 12/21/12. No, I'm sorry, 12/21/20, where unity consciousness will be fully anchored.
Mm.
We've got a lot of work to do, people.
You
Come
can't make
on.
this. You can't make this shift up. These. We left
We're
these.
in deep shift. We're in deep shift.
We're in deep shift. Is right. I love
So
that
then-
double entendre. By the way, that's the perfect double entendre.
So then the 4-4, the meditation. All right. And I know Sandra has her weekend. Like this morning, I tuned into the unity meditation that she does on Sundays. Diamond sparkling light everywhere. Everyone, that's beautiful. Sandra's been doing that for years. And the 4-4, did you do that? Did you, the time, it was like 10:45 Eastern time, something like that.
Today?
No, on 4-4-20, they were trying to get like 1 million people
Yeah,
meditating.
I remember. I can't remember if I did or didn't. I know there was a couple of them I tuned into, but I can't remember which ones they were.
Okay, good. Well, you still added to the pool. It was beautiful. So I saw, okay, I'll share what I saw. Don't throw rocks at me. This is a past lifetime coming up. Because when I told my husband, he did that with me. He said, ooh, you got to be careful who you say that to. But I saw, when we were in the meditation, I saw these giant beings just circling. I'm going to cry. That's how we know it's the truth, because it's from my heart. Anyway, this circle of giant beings circling all of us, this collective globe, this planet of all people tuning in. And they got down on a knee and they gave each of us a crown. And they said, the coronavirus is the unity code.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot to be said for that. Corona, crown, and we got some intel over here regarding that as well, which we really didn't talk about much, but it's along the same lines, and I've heard other people talking about it. It only
Please
makes sense.
share it if you wish.
Well, I'm just
then
saying
I won't feel so wacky. I'd love
No,
to hear
you're
what
not
other
wacky.
people got too.
No, but it's along the same lines of what you just said and other people have talked about. Look, everybody has their own unique trip. The universe communicates to each one of us in its own unique fashion. But one of the things I think we can all agree on is this is a beautiful realm that we all designed that's based on duality. And I used to say when I first woke up and the universe was teaching me stuff, you know, that it's a paradoxical teaching method. What you think is up is down. What you think is round is square. What you think is right is left. And so if you look at if you
Yes.
flip the presentation to the human aspect of what Corona and quarantine and all that, if you flip that the other way, then you have the opposite, which is, let's just look at it this way. What did those things that occurred to the human aspect or presented to the human aspect, the program presented, what did that do in the energetic field? It required people to be alone with themselves. It required people to move out of their behaviors and patterns. It disrupted the programming flow to allow the natural flow. And probably on top of everything, in my opinion, which I think is great, is they're actually living with people who they never actually talked to, and now everybody's home and they're having to actually look at each other. And I saw many, many posts. And again, that's an energetic statement that kind of has an example as a micro, but so I think I think we've done far better than we ever thought. I think that information is coming to the surface very quickly. And I would not be surprised to see if that happens this next month.
Okay. All right. Game on for New
Yeah, yeah.
Earth. One of the things that we've talked about a lot as well, and it's sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, for those who have exited the matrix, the old matrix, I don't know if many of us felt the disruption in ways that others have felt it. That's why we're really having a handout to kind of help others kind of make it through this deep shift that we're in.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but sovereignty, so even in my little world, when this happened, and I want to thank Sandra again because she kind of reminds me. I always check in with Sandra, and she always reminds me, Loren, we're not here to fix or save anyone. And I
yes,
realized, wow, it's true, but it's still stepping up and how we know to step up, right? So what
yeah.
happened with me is I ramped up like since like March. I think March 13th was when our city kind of just turned and like locked down. Well, I was kind of seeing, do I need to slow down? And then I heard, no, you need to actually speed up. And so
Mm-hmm.
it did accelerate and speed up. And I actually was, how do I say this? I think I was pressuring my team, my human team, the people who help me with my website and my producer and people who kind of coordinate things with me, where one of them came to me and said, I'm overwhelmed. And I was like, wow, I'm really digging this energy. And I had to step back and realize, wow, everyone's going through their own pandemic. Everyone's going through their own shift. And so giving everyone the space. So I actually told my team, you guys go do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Um, if you need office hours to establish so that you've got certain times where I'm not going to come in outside of that, establish it. So it helped us establish a better relationship with each other, but I'm talking about my sovereignty or me giving other people sovereignty.
Yeah.
So this expands out into others as well, like those in your house that may have different schedules. Like my son is home from college, he's a night owl. So that's allowing him his space to do what he wants. When people are sovereign, we allow everyone to do what they want. We're sovereign, but we're sovereign. We're allowing them and we're not judging them. So
Right.
if someone wants to sleep in until noon or 1 o'clock, or if
Yes.
someone wants to binge watch, I see other people. Hopefully, people aren't doing things that are, not so good to their health. But even if they are, they'll wake up to that. That's the sovereignty. You know what? I think it's going to come to a point as things must get spiritual. It must, as you said, the soul. It's time for embodiment of the soul and our essence. And as people go through that shift and breaking those patterns that you're talking about, they're going to snap out of it and realize, wow, or maybe they're going to pick up painting again,
Hmm.
or singing or music, something like that, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Good
I just
point.
want to,
No,
yeah, that's
that's
what
a good point. I
sovereignty.
mean, the thing is, and we see a lot of it, and you've probably seen a lot of it in the work you do, but I've seen it change. You know, you have a lot of practitioners coming in. They're putting away old modalities that got them to a certain level. Um, they're changing. They're expanding on a personal level, and it's affecting the paradigm or the template that they were utilizing, which had some 3D threads in it. And
Yeah.
so what you're talking about is very important, because one of the things that goes away with that old 3D, and I'll say it, new age light worker, typical yogi guru type frequency, is that uh, this is about self-empowerment. And that's the sovereignty that you're talking about, and the universal energy is not going to support these old patriarchally impressed templates that we may think we were above because we were living in a community or taking part in a community that was new age or light worker mentality or starseed mentality. The bottom line is, what's dying is the wounded healer.
Mm,
And the wounded healer is a codependent frequency that can easily be identified by your concern with other people. Because if I'm worried about somebody sleeping late, or somebody binge watching, or somebody doing that's not anything good for their health, and I'm sticking my nose in it, guess what I'm not doing? I'm not taking personal responsibility for the creation outside of myself by first and foremost aligning myself. So this is what you're talking about, you know?
mhm.
Um, so anyway, how do we get on?
Yeah,
We got another show.
we do. And thank you so much for your dedicated hard work. I can't believe you do 3 shows a day. Oh my goodness.
We were just thinking about it last night, and we remembered the 400th show,
Uh,
because I just happened to remember when that was. It's so going on 2 years, and so in 2 years we've done. Let's see, we've done about 1,550 shows. So that would be what, 750 a year divided by 12. So it's averaged about 60. But if you figure, it's probably two and a half average, 2.5, 2.75, with a couple of days off a week. You know.
that is just beautiful for the awareness, bringing people back to their soul, making that connection. And that is beautiful. It is beautiful.
Well,
Thank you.
I want to thank you, because you've been doing this for a very long time on behalf of everybody. And like many women, now you've been out there a little bit, but that was your old career. You were in TV and radio, you know, so that
Well,
they
when
you
I
brought that.
left it, I went out into the business world for a while and I knew I would come back to it some way. I just didn't know in what form.
Mm,
And again, this is where we follow the call of the heart. Call. And
that's right.
we begin by doing what we love, not doing anything for the money. That's
That's
actually
right.
the big shift as well.
That's right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And you and a lot of women like you have showed people the way in that regard in other ways. And I just want to say thank you very much for putting it out there, because we're all dealing with the same thing. And at the end of the day, that's why I say that the human is the hero, because you can have all that stuff, and if you don't bring it here as you know, I mean, that's really what we're being forced into or flowed into, is we got to own us, and we got to own this world, and that's from the center of the universe, which is us. And so this is a great conversation. I look forward to many future collaborations, and wish you the very best on all of the things that you're working on. And thank you again for coming in and sharing space and honoring us with your presence.
Thank you, Todd. And thank you, everyone, for stepping up into your heart call and your role. We got this. It's the shift. It's here. It's new earth. We are one. Thank you.
Thank you, and all blessings to you and yours.
Likewise.